persuaded her to do it. And it was all about just having fun,
It's really interesting you say that, because one of my biggest gripes of this film was there's no chemistry between the two of them. As far as
like, you didn't buy them as a couple.
They kiss in the whole film. They don't kiss.
Right. Yeah.
They barely hug.
Welcome to the Yo Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
Good to see you, Dan.
We are back in action. We are, because we're going to be talking about this movie, Back in Action, that as of this recording is the #1 movie on Netflix, which
it should be number 2, if you get my drift.
I don't get your drift, but we often joke about, like, everything at some point hits, is the #1 movie on Netflix. Like,
well, they pulled that Christmas movie out of the theater just so they could say it was #1, because people thought they were getting something for nothing.
What are you talking? What film is that?
The Rock Christmas thing that was
Dear Santa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But so this one just this came out, started streaming on Netflix January 17th, 2025. This is the return of Cameron Diaz, we'll talk about. And actually the last film she did was 2014, a film called Annie, which I hadn't seen, which was also co-starring Jamie Foxx.
I didn't know that.
This is bringing them back together.
I knew she hadn't done a movie since 2014.
Yeah, 2014. Written and directed by Seth Gordon, who has been an executive producer on the show The Goldbergs, which has been a very popular TV series. He also did a film called Identity Thief, which I thought was kind of funny, with your boy Jason Bateman.
Yeah, and he also did a movie called Baywatch.
Okay, so clearly Mike's just can't wait to get out of the gate.
Chomping at the bit.
All over this movie. So this will be a good episode for you folks. But starring Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz, McKenna Roberts, Ryland Jackson, Kyle Chandler, and then I wouldn't say a cameo. It's a fairly, it's a supporting role by Glenn Close, without a doubt.
I'm going to do something that is going to help people. So I'm excited about this episode.
Go for it. Let me sit back and enjoy the show, folks.
If O Brother's never done anything, I'm going to save you 2 hours of your life. 2 hours you can spend with your family, 2 hours you can spend with your kids, 2 hours you can spend watching a better fucking movie, because this is garbage, Dan. And if you come out on the other end of this, I fear for you.
Hour and 54 minutes, and clearly you're just like, this is Mike playing up for the whatever. I'm not saying you liked it. I certainly didn't expect
you to
like it.
I'm not playing up.
No, I didn't expect you to like it, but you watch a fucking like 10 seconds of a film, you hate it, and then you reach out to me in an overnight email and say, hey, what about watching this instead? Because this is a piece of shit. So I don't want to do it. And that's what happens. And I say, no, we agreed we're going to check this flick out because it's new to Netflix.
And that's part of our job. We don't love every film.
And, we've talked oftentimes about Jamie Foxx, not necessarily in a positive light on the podcast. And you were eager to see Cameron Diaz's return to films. So
no idea why she picked this to return.
Well, I'll be happy to tell you that at some point, but go ahead. So give us the synopsis, Mike, of this film.
The synopsis is former CIA spies that have now been found out in their new life get pulled back into action. That's it. That's all you need to know.
That's great. That's perfect. Love that. Yeah. So what's interesting though? Now, okay, so this thing does, again, we're talking streaming, right? So we can't sit and look necessarily at box office receipts, but 46.8 million views in its first 3 days. It's the highest viewed movie on Netflix in at least 2 years. All right. For whatever that means. Whatever that means.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
IMDb right now, again, it's only been out a week. IMDb Metascore of 46. Okay. Rotten
High,
Tomatoes. Mike will be glad to hear this. Rotten Tomatoes, the 28% from the critics
high,
and 59% from the audience.
shocking.
So
Not
whatever you
shocking.
make of that. But
Rotten
let's talk
Tomatoes.
about so let's talk about there's a lot to talk about with Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz. So, look, we've been kind of ragging on Jamie Foxx for a long time because we both don't think he should have won an Oscar for his performance in the movie Ray, where he was
It
portraying
was
Ray
a great
Charles' story.
impression. It was a
Great
great
impression,
impression.
right? And it isn't just Jamie Foxx. We've talked a lot about that whole concept of, biopics and someone portraying someone else and all of that.
Like
But
Timothy Chalamet just did
Dylan,
Bob
right.
Dylan, and he was excellent.
Yeah, it's
But I
interesting.
didn't feel like he was impersonating Dylan.
Well, now it's interesting because like Chalamet, Fox plays piano. He's actually a very accomplished
Yes.
pianist, I think.
Yes.
So what do you think? Could you put your finger on what the difference is there? I'm just curious, like between
Well,
those two
well, if you look at those
performances.
2, I mean, Chalamet certainly was channeling with the voice, and I think a better comparison is Joaquin Phoenix that won the Oscar well, he didn't win the Oscar, actually. He was nominated and didn't win
Mm,
for Walk the Line.
yeah.
Reese Witherspoon, who played his wife, Johnny Cash's wife, won. But Joaquin Phoenix just took on the manner of he had the mannerisms of Johnny Cash, and I
Mm,
believed he was Johnny Cash. He didn't sound or talk like him, and I felt the same thing with Chalamet, although he did more of the accent like Bob Dylan, because Bob Dylan has a very unique way of speaking, so if he did it
mhm,
straight, it wouldn't have worked that way.
mhm.
But the big difference is when I watch Ray, and again, it's a great impression, but I'll watch the real thing. If you're just gonna impersonate him and tell his story,
Yeah.
that story's already available.
Well, this conversation, this episode is about neither of those films, but just to talk about Jamie Foxx a little bit more. So, and then of course he was he was very much in the headlines, and it has to do with the filming of this movie because he in late 20 well, in spring of 2023 or in April, they're filming and he ends up getting a brain bleed,
Mhm.
which leads to a stroke. The doctors think he's not gonna make it, like, it was really grave. It was very mysterious. There wasn't a lot of reports and details coming out early on, and then I think it really wasn't until I think he addressed it in his own recent
Correct.
Netflix special. What
It
had
was
happened
mystery.
was yeah, and so,
Let me say something, Dan, up front. I
yeah,
don't dislike Jamie Foxx. I think he's a
same.
talented guy. I
Yeah,
think he's
same.
a funny guy. I think
Right.
he's a good actor. I think he's a
Yep.
good musician. He was in Soul, I think, with Pixar and did a really good job. And correct me if I'm wrong, but
I
I
think
believe
that's right. I think it was
he was in
Jamie
that.
Foxx. Yeah,
Um,
I think so, yeah.
so I don't dislike Jamie Foxx, and I
No, it's
certainly
nothing
don't
personal.
dislike Cameron Diaz. There's a lot of she's done some bad ones, but there's a lot of good films in her
A lot of good
resume,
films, yeah.
and I was disappointed when she kind of went into semi-retirement,
Right.
which really was never explained. I
Well,
didn't read anything.
she wanted to spend more time with her family. She was kinda tired of all the traveling and, this and she had nothing to prove. She had a pretty decent
Right.
resume by then, and so, and The Mask with Jim Carrey was her screen debut, and she's again, look at all the films she's done since that. Vanilla Sky always
Vanilla
stands out
Sky,
to
one of my
me.
favorites.
Yeah, it's a great one, but yeah, she just kinda wanted to devote herself to her family and, do kinda the mom things, which is something, really a big theme in this film. It's this whole idea of, if kids could go back and maybe see their parents when they were maybe could have been perceived as cool, 'cause, most, we're not parents, we're, feline and maybe canine parents, but, so we don't have that true perspective, but it's pretty commonly known that, like, most kids don't think their parents are cool, and you hear this from a lot of celebrities too, like, Bruce Springsteen, Conan has talked about this a lot.
Right,
Like, they don't care that they're Conan O'Brien. Like, that doesn't their dad, their mom, whatever.
right.
So
I
I like
remember one celebrity saying, "My kids never watched anything until I was this voice on The Simpsons, and then I
right.
became, an
Yeah,
actor."
right. Right.
I
Well,
think that was Dustin Hoffman.
I like the premise, and and what really is interesting about, look, I didn't love the film. I gave it a thumbs up, out of 2. Like, you can on Netflix at the end, right? You can do this, you can do this, or you can do 2
I
thumbs
did
up.
this.
I gave it a thumbs up. Now, I had some problems with it for sure. I'll talk about it, but you know what it is though for me is, I think I'm glad that I just took this for what it was. And in fact, Cameron Diaz in an interview talking about the films talks about coming out of retirement and what got her to do that. And what it was Jamie Foxx called her up and said, "Hey, I got this project I'm working on, this idea, I'd love for you to do it." She had a blast working with him in the past. How do you say no to that? And I guess he persuaded her to do it. And it was
Which
all
is
about just having fun, just having
which is
fun.
it's really interesting you say that because one of my biggest gripes of this film was there's no chemistry between the 2 of them. As far
That
as,
yeah.
like,
You didn't buy
I
them as
don't
a
think they
couple?
kiss. In the whole film, they don't kiss.
Right. Yeah,
They
that's
barely hug,
it's
right?
implied. There's some, yeah, but hold on. It is implied. I'm glad you brought it up because that went through my mind too. There's a couple of points, there's some innuendo, and it's implied for sure. There's a bedroom scene at one point, and there's actually the kids hear them
But they're boxing.
fornicating.
Yeah.
Right, but again, the innuendo and all of that. But it's a family film, and this is one of the things I wouldn't be so quick to write it off because this is a film that a family could watch together and probably enjoy it. Kids and parents I could see maybe enjoying this film. I don't know
Maybe
what you were
kids.
going into it like, what were you expecting? It's just a Netflix
From the
comedy,
from what I heard, it was an action film. I was
and
expecting,
there was a lot of action,
and it was
tons of action.
terrible. It was not believable. It
Well,
it
okay,
was
I
there's one character in it,
I
Dan,
agree
you
with that a
have
little
to
bit.
agree with me, that plays a romantic interest of Glenn
Well,
Close.
you know
He's
what
an
though?
absolute joke.
No, but he was okay until, like, the last third of the film. It just got, yeah, I agree, that went a little south for me with that character,
It
but
went south from the beginning for
in
me.
fact, he and Glenn Close maybe had more chemistry
They
than
did.
Jamie, and they
They
kissed.
were
They did.
kissing and
They
hugging,
were making out.
and
Yeah,
even
it's a
there was
good
a
point.
scene where she's reading a letter that he wrote to her that's very
Right.
romantic. They're they're like 5 feet apart.
You're talking about
They
Jamie
don't
Foxx
hug
and
after it, they don't.
listen, maybe, okay, I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying this is true, but, I don't know. Maybe not all actors give over to that, right? Maybe some are not comfortable with that.
Well,
Maybe in some contracts they say, "I don't wanna do that," you
I
know?
criticized Fall Guy for not having chemistry, which I was
Mm,
shocked because I
yeah.
know that they both liked each other. And I think that was the problem. They were friends, and I didn't buy them as lovers
In
or a
this one,
couple.
in this
In
film.
Yeah, in both, but in this one more
Yeah,
so.
and I'm not, and it's a point I'm not arguing because I did feel some of that. It warmed up a little for me as it went along, but that's a fair point. I think the chemistry was a little lacking for
And
sure in terms of
the
believing that they had been together since, they were
right.
very young or whatever, how
A
many years it
and
was.
this isn't giving away much, but there's a cut early in the film to 15 years forward, okay?
Right, right.
They look exactly the same. They don't even change their hairstyle.
I mean, come on.
You know,
I looked about
everybody
15 years ago,
changes in 15 years.
but,
There was
the
nothing. It was
too
like,
much
"Huh?"
too much softening on the filter maybe, but you know what I think, I don't, again, I couldn't find this to be true or whatever, but I speculated watching it. You talk about the action, and there was a lot of action, but you had said, "Yeah, it wasn't very good." I did have a problem with what I with the action because of the stunt doubling, and I think some of it was horrendous.
Yeah.
Some of the stunt doubles were. Now, I should say though, we have to point out that there was a known body double for Jamie Foxx towards the
Right.
end of the because he got
He
sick,
couldn't
so
finish it. Right.
couldn't finish it. But I think what they were doing, I swear they were doing this, and I know they've done it in other films. They take the body double, but they CGI the face of the actor onto the double, and that is I'd rather see old school. Just the
Yes.
person either looks enough like them or they don't.
Yes.
It's
And
one or
and
the
I
other.
can think of one specific scene which you might be talking about, and I won't not 'cause it's towards the
It
end, but
almost looks like their face, it gets like silly putty and stretches because
it's silly looking.
they can't keep the CGI face centered on the moving body, and it's just
Right.
it doesn't look it's just like I say to you, these when you ever see in a movie or a TV show portraits that are from, actors in the film that are of course not related for real, but they're
Right.
like family portraits, and they never don't look photoshopped. It's always terrible.
It's
It's
always
always terrible.
terrible,
It's
and
kind of the same thing.
my other huge issue, and I don't care who was in this. You could put Pacino, you could put
Uh-huh.
anyone in this role. The writing of this thing sucked.
Did
It
you
felt
really
like it
feel
was
so?
written by a I've
I
written better I've read better stuff from
I
teenagers
thought it was quite
than this
funny. I
script.
thought it was quite funny. I mean, there
Wow.
was this whole angle about this MI6 operative who, you know, he's kind of
Played
trying to
by Andrew Scott, who's an excellent
he's
actor.
trying to track them down and everything, and, Jamie Foxx's character, because Cameron Diaz and Andrew Scott have dated apparently at some point in the past.
Right.
There's this thing going on between Jamie Foxx and
Like a little
him,
jealousy, yeah.
right? And and then later on, there's a female MI6 operative who thinks that Andrew Scott's character maybe had a thing. It's just kind of some funny, flirting and things that were
But
going on. I thought,
I
but
found the script to
you
be
didn't let yourself enjoy it at all, unfortunately.
I didn't, and, you know, I've said this before. I never wanna hate a movie. I never wanna dog a movie, but when
I
it
think this one you
deserves it,
did. I think this one you did.
I did because it deserved it, and
I think you're wrong.
you
I
tell
think you're
me
wrong.
different.
I
You
I
tell
had
me that
fun with it.
Glenn Close,
I had fun with
Kyle
it.
Chandler, and Andrew Scott, all good actors, didn't do this for a paycheck. You tell me that.
Isn't that what they all do it for?
Yeah, but
Isn't it?
they
I
could
mean,
do
what
other things.
do you know many people that work for free, just pro bono?
No,
I don't
but
know
I'm
that that's
saying,
pretty common.
like Jim Carrey came
Yeah.
out honestly, he hates Hollywood. He did
Uh-huh.
Sonic the Hedgehog strictly for a paycheck. That's
Uh-huh.
not acting,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you take on a role, take it on because you love the script, you love the story, you
Yeah,
love the
but
character, not for the paycheck.
yeah, but
When
okay,
you're
but
at
that
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 level
but
when
that
you're at
might have
that
been them.
level,
Okay, but they might have been begging her to do it, and you don't know what she's got paid. You have no idea any of that. So I don't think that's
I think
reasonable.
she
And
got paid a lot
okay,
because
fine.
Netflix has a big
But
wallet.
but they may have wanted to what are you gonna get Glenn Close? She's a great actress.
She is, but I'm
She was fun in
embarrassed.
this. She was
I was
fun.
embarrassed for her.
Nah, I
I
wasn't.
was
I thought it was
embarrassed.
funny. I thought it was fun. See, and that was the thing. Like we just talked about this with someone on the podcast. Um, this kind of need to go to the theater or even streaming and just escape and just kind of maybe laugh a little bit for a couple hours and something
I
that's not so heavy. And I did. I did.
this is
Again, I'm not saying
now
it's great. I'm not saying it's great, but for if you have Netflix, anybody who's got Netflix is going to watch this film.
there's so much
They're just
more
going to. Of
that you
course.
can
Well,
choose
Netflix
from
is riddled
better.
with films. I mean, they're all over. I mean,
We
it's an
had to
endless
watch it.
library of films.
We watched it, okay, that's 2 hours. Then we have to
Right.
prepare, that's a half hour. Then we have to do this podcast, which is this is 4 hours or 3 hours of my life gone that I
Well,
really would like back.
it's a good thing that we'll be closing up shop in the not too distant future here. Her and the O Brother
The
podcast.
No
So,
Brother
in
podcast
case you
coming
were, it's a
soon.
No Brother, yeah, podcast. But I don't know. Again, maybe it was just the state of mind that I went into it with. But listen, you know, I would have been the first one to be running on this microphone to talk about Jamie Foxx, and I can't
Right,
believe it, and I just
and
didn't. I didn't.
I
I
don't blame
remembered
any of the
how
actors other than when you're that good an actor and you take that bad a part, you gotta look in the mirror.
this is
And,
n
De Niro's admitted to doing it many times,
okay,
Pacino's
this
admitted
isn't
to
The
doing it many
Godfather
times.
for crying out loud. It's a streaming
No,
comedy, like,
I
you're
know,
getting a
but,
little worked up.
you know,
You need a
Al
little
Pacino
laughter in your life.
Al Pacino has come out and said he's absolutely, when he sees, like, the Adam Sandler movie, d nothing he loves Adam Sandler, but he knew it was a horrible part, but he was broke, and that's what I
Okay, so
felt
I don't
like.
see you dogging on Al about taking the paycheck.
Oh, if we were talking about that film, dog Al, believe me.
Okay,
Adam and
alright.
Steve or something like that? Adam and
I don't
Eve,
know. I
and
don't
he
know.
played both characters, and it was the
Never
worst
saw it.
performance of his career, and he's had some pretty bad ones. He's also had some of the greatest of all time,
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
but,
while. We love
I
Al.
watched
It's been a while.
ironically, I watched Heat after
Uh-huh.
this because I had to cleanse my palate.
Listen, I mean, look, it was shot, primarily in London, so I enjoyed seeing London again. That was nice, and then they did some filming in Atlanta, but, I thought that was kinda cool. They were at the Tate Modern Museum, and I had been there not that long ago, and that was kinda cool, but
So
I don't know,
some
it made
kids
me
might
laugh,
have
and
looked
look, Seth Gordon, he's not necessarily a slouch when it comes to comedy writing, say what you want, but
Baywatch, Baywatch, Bay
Goldberg's, dude, is a hugely popular show, this series,
I
and he's
can't
and he's got
do it.
he's got more on his resume than just Baywatch, so
I
that's not really
know
fair to say,
a
but
lot of TV stuff that's been
yeah,
good,
a lot of
but
TV stuff, yeah, yeah,
this is
and
horrible.
maybe
I
that's
am
a point. Maybe it doesn't always translate onto the bigger
Yeah,
screen,
but
but this is
I'm
TV
telling
too,
you,
basically.
this is a waste of 2 hours of your life.
And I'm
There's
saying
better stuff.
if you're looking for just a kind of a fun, lighthearted kinda comedy and you have Netflix, check it out. Check it
I
out,
I'm
you
not
know?
even going that far. Don't
Yeah,
check it out.
again, I don't know. I just went into it going, just gonna, no expectations, just want to have a couple of laughs. And I forgot this is not his finest comedic performance by far, but I remember it made me remember Jamie Foxx. He is a funny guy. He is a funny
Yeah,
guy. He
like I
does
said,
make me laugh.
I you know, the acting wasn't the issue, although it came off really stiff because of a terrible script.
There was so much. See, I really liked the writing in terms of the dialogue and the jokes and things. I thought there was quite a
Ironically,
lot of funny moments.
you read the IMDb score in the 40s. It would be in the 30s if it wasn't for a critic I actually
Yeah.
used to respect, Richard
Listen.
Roper, who took Gene Siskel's spot
Yeah.
on the Siskel and Ebert show. But even he, in his review, was a totally backhanded, maybe he said, he actually said they had chemistry, and he said, "Imagine what they would have done if it was a good script."
Well,
And he
yeah,
gave it way higher of a
again
score after making that comment.
could care less about, like, they had chemistry, but it seemed more like brother-sister chemistry, friendship chemistry. It didn't seem like a
Did
couple
you
had been
buy them
married
as
with 2 kids.
parents? Did you buy those kids?
I
They
did,
annoyed the
I
shit
did,
out of me.
I did, yeah, I did. That was the point. That was the point. And see, there's something I think you're just not gonna be able to get, and again, we're both not parents, um,
But we have
I can
nieces and nephews that we you know,
that's not
I don't
that
think
has nothing to do with
I
that.
don't think I cannot not relate. I was a kid, I rebelled.
Yeah, but you've not been a parent, so you don't kinda get that, I don't think. So that might be it might be slightly hindering your
Folks,
reception of the
not
film,
hindering at all. Don't watch this film.
Yeah, and look, if you go by the numbers, for the most part, that would support what you're saying.
And
And
for
then
one
as you always say, okay, look in a week or 2 and see what if anybody's ever
right,
heard of this film
and I think the
again.
Metascore will go lower.
Maybe.
I think Rotten Tomatoes at 25% is pretty terrible, but it's gonna
It's
go
terrible.
lower. Yeah,
28% is
it's gonna
horrendous.
go
It's
bad. It's
now
gonna
it's
go
all
lower.
again, it's also early, and so I'll be curious just to look in a week and see if it changes at all, for the better or for the worse, you know? But I'm saying check it out. I'm not saying again, I wouldn't if you have Netflix, check it out. Check it
I
out. What's the
yeah, I
harm?
say if you have Netflix, there's 10 other movies
I
that come
think
up on the
most
first
people that
screen
have net
better.
I think most people that have Netflix watch all of those top 10 recommendations is my guess. I don't think they're
I don't.
as selective as because you don't watch Netflix all that often other than the fact that wrestling is now on Netflix.
Yeah,
And
but
you
no,
saw the film
I
Carry
go to
On, which
Netflix a lot
and I'm
because
sorry, but Carry On was a bit of a dog too, and you loved that film.
I didn't love it, come
You
on.
liked it a lot, and it was not a good
I
film.
said it was okay, I didn't
No,
even
you
say I
didn't say
liked it, no
oh,
way.
bullshit. Oh, Mike
I might
backpedaling
have
now.
said I liked Jason
Mike
Bateman.
backpedaling now.
No, I'm
You did
not,
say that. You
and
did
if
say
you
that.
wanna do an
You
episode,
kept
we can
telling
do
me
an
to check it
episode.
out. More than once, you told me to check it out.
No, I didn't tell you
Mike
I
worried
said
about
you
his
want I said it's
credibility.
not that bad.
Mike
It
worried
is a
about his
Netflix
credibility.
only mo Netflix only now is the equivalent of back in the day of straight to DVD.
Mike afraid his column's gonna get canceled.
No, 'cause Carry On, I would not call a good film,
Yeah, listen,
but I like Jason Bateman. I
listen,
thought his
listen.
performance was good,
Take it
and
easy. Take
it's
it easy.
better than this movie
No,
by
no, take it
far.
easy. Take it no, it's really not.
It
It's really
is.
not. It really
You
isn't.
haven't
They're 2
watched the
different
whole thing.
I didn't need to. It was terrible.
No,
It was
see,
terrible.
you
Do you
just
really
contradicted
believe Taron
yourself.
Egerton
You
is
just
working
contradicted
do you
yourself.
really
You
believe that?
criticize me for making up my mind in 10 minutes, and you do
Every
that all
that's
the
exactly
time.
right, because as
Oh,
we often say here on the No Brother podcast, it's my opinion and you're entitled to yours. That's it. We'll
and
let the people
and
decide. So,
I
if
wanna
you've seen Back in Action, you think it's a
please,
piece of shit, let us know. If you don't, and I certainly expect to be on the losing end of this, which is fine. I let's hear it. But if there's anybody who agrees that it was an entertaining film, again, not saying it's a great film by any stretch, but it was enjoyable. I didn't feel like I'm never going to get that 2 hours back. I really didn't feel
that's
like
how
that.
I felt.
Yeah, I didn't feel like that. I
And
didn't feel like
and,
that.
I always watch through the credits.
Yeah.
As soon as it ended, click.
I thought the credits were cool too, the way they did it. But
Yeah, they
anyways,
did some kinda animation thing,
yeah, it
but
was
I
cool.
just saw it briefly 'cause I
Yeah.
was, like, on to the next thing because I
Yeah.
was so angry.
Mike went to try to get to sleep. Didn't help you sleep, did it? Probably kept you up
It
at night.
didn't,
Yeah,
and
it
that's
kept you
probably
up.
why I'm even more agitated than normal, but
Well, listen, folks, there you go. Back in action. Mike
save
wishes,
2 hours of your life, please.
yeah, Mike wishes that Cameron would go back in retirement, I guess, at this
No,
point. So,
she's
no,
she's got a couple of films
she
upcoming,
does. Yeah.
and
She's
I'll be
already,
happy to see them.
she's already in production working on a film with Keanu Reeves. So,
Oh, good.
yeah.
That's a
And then
great
going to
match.
be, she's going to be bringing back a voice in Shrek 6, I
I
think.
heard that, I heard that.
So
She's like the main she's
she's
like
back, yeah, she's back,
like
and it
front and
wasn't like she wasn't doing anything all those years too. She was heavily involved in, some companies that she launched and, philanthropy and all kinds of things. So, but
and
it was
again,
nice to
I
see her
don't
back. She looks great too. Jamie looks good too. They both look good.
of all the actors, like Glenn Close, I love Glenn Close.
Yeah,
Andrew Scott is somebody
he was
you
good.
may not know.
He was really good. He was
He
really
was
good.
in Sherlock with,
Right,
Cumberbatch, and
right,
he played Dr. Moriarty,
right,
and
right.
Kyle Chandler is a great
Yeah,
actor.
Kyle Chandler, right. You know what was funny, Mike? I won't give anything away, but Um, believe it or not, and okay, I fully expect you to say, "Oh, I didn't see the twist
I
coming."
didn't see it.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
admit to that.
Okay, that's good. That's
That
good.
was maybe
But
the only thing in the movie I can say,
that's
"Okay,
funny.
they did
Yeah.
that well."
All right. Well, there you go. There's no reason to belabor this since we didn't.
Yes.
We already dragged out 2 hours of your life. I don't want to ruin any more of it. But well, there you go, folks. We're back in action. I don't know what else to say, but pretty clearly a split decision here on the O Brother podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.